Today we're going to be talking about how to get faster at picking, because playing fast is awesome. We're also going to be looking at how to clean up your alternate picking as well, or your picking in general. And it's essential that we stay clean when we play because it sounds good, we sound professional. So that's really important, so we'll talk about that as well. So we have 3 tips or topics and some exercises to help you with your hand synchronization and to get clean and fast, so stick around for them. But first, let's look at small movements in both our picking hand and fretting hand. So the idea behind having smaller movements as opposed to large movements, so having a movement like this in our picking hand as opposed to this, and having a movement like this in our fretting hand as opposed to this, is that a smaller movement is much more controlled or easier to control than a large movement. It's more controlled because if we take our picking hand, it's a very even movement. There's not much variation or deviation. It's very consistent. And also the sound is very consistent as well, which is what we want. There's not more pronunciation of a note on a downstroke and upstroke. It's very consistent. Whereas if we have a big movement, it's a very inconsistent movement. I just hit the B string. That's another reason why you might hit the wrong strings. But it's a very inconsistent movement, very inconsistent sound. So if we stay within a small movement in our picking hand and fretting hand, it will be more consistent in the sound quality, or in the sound, not sound quality, in the sound and in the movement itself, and it will be much easier to control. It's also much easier to play fast. You can play faster because we have less distance to travel if we use small movements. So if we have a big movement, very big distance to go from a downstroke to an upstroke, very big distance to travel in respect to the pick. And if you have a small movement, the distance shrinks a lot, so we have less time between going from picking on the downstroke to picking on the upstroke, which means we can pick faster, more controlled and more consistently. So it's a win in every scenario. Tip 2 is about staying relaxed. So a good way, or one of the good ways to be relaxed when we're playing, is to not grip the pick too hard. A lot of people did this. I did this because I was worried that the pick would fly out my hands when I'm playing, or it would move or tilt slightly when I'm picking. This is not the case. Granted, I do have a jazz pick, so there's a little bit of a grippage here. So there's like a little bit of a grip there, but that's fine. It is the exact same with every other pick. If you just place it, however you hold your pick, place it, cover it. That's how I hold my pick, and you just hold it. You don't grip it. You just have it placed in your hand, in your grip, when you're in your grasp, not grip. Don't grip it. You just have it placed in your grasp, and then you like shake it. You play. It won't slip and it won't move in your hand at all, or it shouldn't. So you don't need to worry about it flying away or moving when you're playing. That's one area sorted. And we also don't need to be all tensed up. We don't need to be tensing our arms. We don't need to be tensing our shoulders. Just be relaxed. Just be smooth. Just chill. Just chill out. But ultimately, staying relaxed helps you play much more smoothly and much more consistently, because we're not wearing ourselves out by being tense or applying too much force. We're not wearing our hands out or our fingers out, so we can play for a lot longer because we have more stamina. It also helps a lot with the first tip, which was having small movements as opposed to large movements. Take our fretting hand, for example. Because we're not applying as much force as we were before when we were tense, because we're relaxed, we're just applying enough force. We're not like over applying tension, or not over applying force. So we don't need to overdo the movement. So if we just apply enough force, you'll notice that you just kind of naturally have a small movement. You over apply force, you kind of hammer down on it or attack the string, really tense your hand, you'll notice that you naturally have a large movement and also a much harsher sound. Staying relaxed gives us a nice sound, I think. Relaxed. Overusing force. There's a very big difference in the sound that it creates, and I much prefer, and I think a lot of you guys will as well, the one where we're relaxed. That's relaxed. And over applying force, a lot of string noise that we don't really want. So because we're applying just enough force, we won't need and it's not necessary to overuse our movement. But there is some exceptions within some techniques, and also if you want to add a little bit of expression or a little bit of flavour to your playing. So a technique where it's an exception is pinch harmonics. You have to quite pick, or I like to do my pinches with quite an aggressive pick. Also sometimes in the legato I'll go because I like the sound, and also sometimes if I really get into it and there's a little bit of a break in a solo, maybe a little bit of a slower section, I will really like attack the string, so it just sounds nice, as a little bit of expression. That was a horrible line, by the way. That was not my best work. Bad riff to choose, but you get the idea. To add a little bit of flavour, sometimes I will pick a little bit harder because it sounds nice. It adds to the music. If it adds to anything in a good way, you can break the rules as many times as you like. And the third tip is to step outside your comfort zone with regarding tempo. Basically, this just helps you and your fingers and your hands gauge how playing fast feels, so you can get used to it over time. So if you're practicing slow, at a slow tempo, where you just kind of don't really need to think about it, you can zone out and you can play perfectly fine for hours. You're not really going to get any faster because you're not getting used to how it feels to play at those fast tempos. So if you step outside your comfort zone, where a lot of the notes, they don't all have to be perfect, a lot of the notes are good and sound nice, you're playing fast outside your comfort zone, it will naturally become, or it will feel more natural over time. So when you do get to that tempo, it will be like, oh, I've been here before. It's really easy. A good way to practice this is to involve short bursts into your exercises. Obviously I've done some exercises, or an exercise that involves that. I'm going to give you some different ones today. So there's two main types of short bursts, and basically they just both involve tension, where you're playing fast and out of your comfort zone, or just playing fast in general, and then the release or the relaxation, I don't know, the tension or the relax, where you're either not playing or you're playing at half speed or a slower tempo. So the first one is going to involve the tension where you're playing fast, and then the relax where you're playing at half speed. And the second exercise is going to involve tension where you're playing fast, and then relax where you're not playing, so you have a little bit of a break. So that was 3 tips or ways to improve your speed when alternate picking, and how to clean up your picking in general. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, turn on notification bell so you don't miss when I upload, and I will see you in the next one.